Medicine is my lawful wife, and literature is my mistress. Anton Chekhov. One of the most prominent names in the Russian literary world, a pioneer of modern drama, Anton Pavlovich Chekhov was born in 1860 in southern Russia into an Orthodox Christian family. Son of a disciplinarian father. From a very young age, Chekhov was used to reading works of literary greats like Leo Tolstoy, Ivan Turgenev, Arthur Schopenhauer, and got inspired by them. Coming from a humble background, Chekhov had to see lots of financial struggles during his teenage days. In 1876, Chekhov's father went bankrupt, following which the family had to flee to Moscow, fearing of being tracked down by debtors. In 1884, Chekhov got his degree in medicine and went on to become a doctor. However, the medical profession didn't serve him much. He was not able to earn much as a doctor because he used to treat his patients free of cost. It is at this time that he started writing. He wrote short comedy sketches on Russian social life. Later he forayed into freelance journalism, where he found little fame by 1888 among the Russian literary circles. In his career, Chekhov has penned 14 plays and close to 500 short stories. The Seagull, Uncle Vanya, The Cherry Orchard, Three Sisters, The Proposal are some of his most popular plays. Anton Chekhov is considered to be one of the greatest writers today. But back in the day, it was a different story. He was criticized for his writings. Leo Tolstoy was one among those who criticized Chekhov openly. Tolstoy had once told Chekhov, "You know, I can't abide Shakespeare, but your plays are the worst." However, Tolstoy did enjoy Chekhov's short stories. He had a collection of them. He classified them on the basis of quality as first grade and second grade and bound them into a hardbound book. Satire was Chekhov's thing. He was one of those few writers who incorporated certain humor and satire into his writings. He unapologetically mocked the Russian conscience, the 19th century Russian way of life. Towards the end of the 19th century, in 1897, tragedy struck Chekhov's family. His father passed away. An year after, Chekhov was contracted with tuberculosis, following which he had to leave Moscow and go to Yalta, a city in southern Russia, along with his mother and sister. It was in Yalta that Chekhov penned one of his most popular short stories, The Lady with the Dog. The Russian writer Vladimir Nabokov have claimed it to be one of the greatest short stories ever written in literature. Anton Chekhov died in 1904, battling tuberculosis. His last words were in German. He said, "Ich sterbe," which means, "I am dying." However, Chekhov didn't have any formal training in the German language. Chekhov's stories and plays have inspired writers and literature enthusiasts all over the world and continue to do so to this day. His works have become subjects to numerous TV and film adaptations. It was only 40 years after his death that Chekhov found fame internationally when Constance Garnett translated his Russian works into English. Welcome to this new segment called Slumber Stories, where we shall be discussing stories written by great writers in classic literature. Today's story is The Death of a Government Clerk by Anton Chekhov. The story was originally published in 1883 in a Russian literary magazine called Oslonsky. The protagonist of the story is Ivan Dmitrich Shervyakov, a government clerk. The story starts in an opera. One evening, Ivan Dmitrich Shervyakov, this government clerk, is watching a performance in an opera. He is enjoying the performance to his heart's content. And all of a sudden, he sneezes. He sneezes, and when he gets back to his consciousness, he looks around to make sure whether anyone of them has got affected by his sneezing. And to his utter disappointment, he finds an older gentleman sitting right in front of him, in the front row, wiping his bald head and neck, muttering something to himself. Now when Shervyakov sees this, he realizes that he has sneezed upon this gentleman. And when he takes a closer look, he identifies the man to be Brizalov, the general working in the transport department and holding a higher rank than Shervyakov. Now at this very point, Shervyakov starts to show a submissive behavior shown by any of the junior level employee in government organizations or any other organizations for that matter. He thinks that Brizalov belongs to a higher rank than him, so it was his duty to apologize. Otherwise, Brizalov must think ill of him. He might not think immediately, but he will think sure for later. So Shervyakov thinks this way, and he makes an attempt to apologize. He leans forward, he cuffs, and he whispers an apology in Brizalov's ear. He addresses him as Your Excellency. However, Brizalov is busy watching the performance. He is not paying much heed to Shervyakov. When he hears the apology, he just responds in a never mind. He says never mind twice, and then he continues watching the performance. But the actual problem starts here for Shervyakov. Shervyakov thinks that Brizalov has ignored him, or he hasn't accepted his apology in a way he should have accepted. Anxiety takes over Shervyakov. He waits. The performance reaches interval. During the interval, Shervyakov walks up to Brizalov and again addresses him as Your Excellency. I spattered you. And Brizalov, when he hears it, he's just irritated. He says, Oh, I've forgotten that, you're still hanging on to it. He says something of this sort. A sad, dejected Shervyakov returns home that evening. He narrates the whole incident to his wife. And when his wife hears the incident at first instance, she is scared because Brizalov belongs to a higher rank and Shervyakov has sneezed upon Brizalov. But she is relieved when she learns that Shervyakov doesn't directly report to Brizalov. However, she advises Shervyakov to visit Brizalov personally and apologize to him. Following his wife's instructions, the very next day, Shchervyakov puts up his uniform, he combs his hair, he gets ready, he grooms himself, he gets ready and he goes to Brzalov's office to apologize to him personally. When he reaches Brzalov's office, he finds Brzalov busy in the reception area attending to his petitioners, interviewing his petitioners. There are visitors sitting with him. Now at this point, Shchervyakov enters and he again addresses him as Your Excellency. And in the midst of the conversation, Brzalov lifts his head and he sees Shchervyakov standing. And he is not happy, he is kind of irritated to see Shchervyakov. However, he continues with the interview. When the last of the visitors is about to leave and Brzalov is about to go into the inner apartments, Shchervyakov stops him midway and he again says to him, Your Excellency, it is with utmost regret, and so on. He goes to apologize. Now at this point the story takes a different turn. Brzalov gets angry, is infuriated because he thinks Shchervyakov is mocking him, is making fun of him purposefully. He yells at Shchervyakov. Shchervyakov is taken by horror because he can't believe, he's shocked. He can't believe what's happening right in front of him. Brzalov yells at Shchervyakov and he asks Shchervyakov to get out. A horror-stricken Shchervyakov, sad, depressed, returns home. Shchervyakov comes home. He falls on the sofa and he dies. Shchervyakov has died out of anxiety and stress to have lived that moment when his apology went unaccepted. Now this is the story, the death of a government clerk. Now here, Shchervyakov's anxiety is shown as a satire. It's a satirical representation. And in some way, it has represented that submissive behavior shown by employees. How they submit themselves to the authority of superiors. Now we look back to Russian literature, you can find two types of characters. The first one, who have trod the path of sufferings and pain and finally have discovered the road to self-realization and strength. This is the one lot. And the other lot is people who have succumbed to their weakness and perished. Now in this story too, Shchervyakov in the very beginning itself started showing a weak behavior. He became submissive. He had already decided to submit himself to Brzalov's authority. And Anton Chekhov couldn't have found a better ending rather than killing him in the end. This is what happens with us. As individuals, we tend to perceive ourselves too less when we come face to face with people of authority, people who hold higher ranks. We are intimidated. We become submissive. We are taken by fear. Our own insecurities overshadow us. But is it all worth it? This was the story, The Death of a Government Clerk by Anton Chekhov. Until the next story, I'll take your leave. Thank you.